Let's talk about a city of incredible contradictions. We're talking about Mexico City, a sprawling, vibrant capital home to 22 million people, built on the ruins of a magnificent empire. But here's the thing. This incredible modern metropolis is facing a threat that comes from its very foundations. It's literally sinking.
I mean, just think about that for a second. How can one of the world's biggest cities actually be sinking? It's a question that honestly defines everything about the city's past, present, and its future. We're talking about a megacity, a major economic and cultural hub, just disappearing into the ground.
And the scale of this problem, it's just staggering. In some parts of the city, the ground is dropping by as much as 20 inches. That's nearly 2 feet, or 50 centimeters, every single year. And this isn't some new thing. It's a slow-motion crisis that's been building for a very, very long time. And the evidence? Oh, it's everywhere. I mean, you can literally see it. You've got these old colonial churches leaning at these crazy, impossible angles. You've got massive cracks splitting open major roads. And behind the scenes, there's this constant, expensive battle to fix water and sewer pipes that are just being ripped apart as the ground sinks. So to really get our heads around how this all happened, we need to go way back before a single Spanish ship ever touched these shores.
Because this whole story, it doesn't start with a crisis. Oh no. It starts with an absolute wonder of the ancient world, an engineering marvel, a city built right in the middle of a lake.
So, back in 1325, a people we know as the Aztecs, or the Mexica, founded their capital city, Tenochtitlan, and they built it on this little island in the middle of a huge lake, Lake Texcoco. Over the next couple of hundred years, it went from this, humble settlement to the absolute heart of the massive Aztec Empire. It became one of the biggest, most advanced cities anywhere in the world at the time.
Now, choosing this spot wasn't just about strategy or, finding a good piece of land. It was a divine mission. The legend goes that their main god told them to build their city wherever they saw an eagle perched on a cactus eating a snake. And where did they find that exact sign? Right there, on that swampy little island. That image is so powerful, so central to Mexico's identity, that it's still right there in the middle of the Mexican flag today.
And the incredible thing is, the Aztecs didn't try to fight their watery environment. They worked with it. They mastered it. They built these enormous causeways like land bridges to connect the island to the mainland. Their streets were actually a complex network of canals. They engineered these advanced aqueducts to bring fresh water into the city. And get this, they even built their own land. They created these things called chinampas, which were basically man-made islands for farming, pushing their city further and further out onto the lake.
This place was so mind-blowing that when the Spanish conquistadors showed up in 1519 and saw it for the first time, they were just speechless. They couldn't believe their eyes. One of Hernan Cortez's men wrote about it, saying they were all just stunned by the sheer beauty and scale of it all. He even wondered if they were dreaming. But that sense of wonder, it didn't last. It gave way to one of the most brutal, game-changing moments in history. Because what happened next wasn't just a war against the Aztec people, it was a war against the very water that gave the city life. So, after being kicked out once, Cortez came back. And he came back with his Spanish troops and, crucially, thousands of indigenous allies who were enemies of the Aztecs. Tenochtitlan, already weakened by a deadly smallpox epidemic, was put under siege for months. And in August of 1521, this magnificent city finally fell. And the Spanish, they just systematically tore it to the ground. And right then, a decision was made that would seal the city's fate for centuries to come. Cortez decided to build his new capital, Mexico City, directly on top of the Aztec ruins. The goal was pretty clear: erase every trace of the old empire. And to make it look more like a European city, and to deal with flooding, the Spanish started a project that would take hundreds of years, draining the entire lake. I mean, the two visions for this place, you couldn't get more different. Tenochtitlan was a city of water, of canals and canoes, a place built in harmony with the lake. The new Mexico City, it was a city of land, a European-style grid of streets and squares, built on what was now a drained, totally unstable lakebed. And just to make the point, they built their massive cathedral, the symbol of their power, right on top of the ruins of the most sacred Aztec temple. Now, for a few hundred years, the problems from that decision were, well, sort of manageable. But then the 20th century hit, and a new force came along that would take this problem and just explode it. A population boom like you wouldn't believe. The growth was just off the charts. Seriously. At the start of the 1900s, you've got about 500,000 people. By 1960, it was 10 times bigger, with 5 million. And today, the whole metro area is home to something like 22 million people. You can just imagine the insane pressure that put on the city's resources, especially water.
So you might be asking, why did it grow so fast? Well, Mexico City is what you'd call a primate city. That basically means it's the undisputed center of everything for the whole country. Politics, money, media, culture, it all happens here. I mean, it generates a whopping 16% of the entire country's GDP. So naturally, it became this massive magnet for anyone looking for a better life. So this historic city of palaces, as people once called it, just mushroomed into this modern megalopolis full of skyscrapers and highways. But here's the crucial part. All of this new, incredibly heavy concrete and steel was being built on pretty much the worst foundation you could possibly imagine, the soft, squishy clay of that old drained lake bed. And that brings us right back to where we started, to today, where all of those decisions from the past have finally collided with the reality of the present, and it's created this absolutely devastating cycle. It's a really vicious feedback loop. Okay, so step one, you've got 22 million thirsty people. To give them water, the city has to pump gigantic amounts of it from the aquifer deep underground. Step two, as the water is pumped out, that spongy clay of the old lake bed starts to dry up and get squashed together. It compacts. Step three, as the ground compacts, the whole city sinks. This damages buildings, roads, and this is key, it breaks the water pipes. Which brings us to the final terrible step. Something like 40% of the city's fresh water just leaks out of these broken pipes. So what do they have to do? Pump even more water out of the aquifer, which just makes the whole cycle spin faster and faster. And what you're left with is this huge modern paradox, right? A city that was literally founded on a lake is now facing an extreme water shortage. On top of that, the sinking makes it way more vulnerable to earthquakes because that soft ground acts like jelly and actually makes the shaking worse. And the most terrifying part? This damage is permanent. Once that clay is compacted, you can't just add water and fluff it back up. The sinking is irreversible. And of course, a crisis like this is never felt equally. You have these gleaming modern financial districts with their glass skyscrapers, standing just a few miles away from communities where people might only get running water for a few hours a week. They have to rely on expensive water trucks just to get by. It's this daily, stark reminder of the deep inequality that's woven into this whole environmental disaster. When you look at its history, from the Aztec marvel to the colonial capital to the modern giant it is today, Mexico City has always been a place of incredible reinvention. But this challenge, this one, is different. It's the biggest it's ever faced, and it comes directly from its own history. So the real question isn't just how do we stop the sinking? It's something bigger. How does a city come to terms with the decisions made 500 years ago to try and build a livable future on ground that is literally crumbling away beneath its feet?